Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the GW Basketball Insiders podcast. I'm Limo Murku alongside David Korn. We will be talking about some transfer portal talk, some crown talk, some whatever comes to our mind talk. So David, why don't you just give us kind of your thoughts on the technically the portal's been open for less than a week, but it feels like it's been longer. So, kind of what are your thoughts on where GW stands at this point?
So 4 players from the GW men's basketball team have announced that they are entering the portal. Darren Buchanan Jr., Jacoi Hutchinson, Darren, and Keegan Harvey. I think the only real surprise there was Darren, who, as a true freshman from Europe, we might add, which we've, in our experience, noted that they're sort of less likely to transfer, at least initially. But especially with the first 2 players, Buchanan and Hutchinson, with their role reductions this year, both falling out of the starting lineup in favor of Christian Jones and then Sean Hansen. I don't think that was a surprise for anyone. Those are both starting caliber college basketball players, both at this level. And Buchanan, I think, could probably start at a good amount of high majors as well. I just think he had some bad injury luck, and the team sort of went away from his play style as the season went on. And then Jacoi, again, he just got into a bit of a funk, but we've seen all the talent he has. Elite on-ball defender, can score at all 3 levels, good distributor. Just Christian Jones really came on the scene, and they split minutes a lot of the time, but I don't think that's necessarily the role that Jacoi Hutchinson was looking for. So, those were the 2 big ones. We'll definitely touch on Nessa and Keegan Harvey a bit as well, but I feel like we'll spend most of our time talking about Darren Buchanan Jr. and Jacoi Hutchinson, right, Liam?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had in my notes here, I have like a ranking of the announced departures thus far from least to most surprising. Keegan Harvey, least surprising. I had heard in pretty early, not early in the season, but halfway through conference play that he was planning on going elsewhere for a grad program.
Now the Jamie Christian era is officially gone. There's no trace.
No trace. Well, actually, Lamont Franklin. That's the one trace.
Oh, that's a good call.
So yeah, my Keegan was least surprising. Darren Buchanan second, then Jacoi Hutchinson, then Darren. But yeah, I mean, we can touch on Keegan briefly. He's going to go somewhere with a very good grad program. Had like a 4.0 GPA in engineering at GW. He apparently has 2 years of eligibility, which, listen,
I don't understand that.
I don't really get that either, but
I know a lot of players are like sort of just entering the portal, even if they don't think they have eligibility. Yeah. And they'll just hope that they'll get another year, or they'll sue or something. And
he definitely has a year.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I know a lot of players are doing that. So that might be what Keegan is sort of posturing about. But
yeah. So if he can do that, good for him. Where he would end up, I'm not really sure, because it's kind of, he didn't play at the A10 level, so he would probably have to go down if he wanted to play.
Yes, that's a fair assumption.
And I'm not really sure what that school looks like, because you kind of would think Ivy League, but they don't have grad student athletes.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know, would he go D3? Would he I'm just really not sure what that
I feel like a high academic is sort of where you would expect him. Off the top of my head, some ones that just sort of stick out. Again, no knowledge of this, but knowing some like high academic lower schools, Rice, I think could be a good option. Maybe, I don't know, just anywhere that really has an engineering grad program.
Like, what about like a UC school? Like, what about like a Big West?
Yeah, that's a great call. Like UC Davis,
UC Davis or something like that. I mean, maybe not UC San Diego, because were rather good last year, and I would assume
they were. Yeah, he will not play on that team.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, we'll kind of see where he ends up, and we'll see if he ends up getting 2 years of eligibility. But by all accounts, a great guy. He was definitely a favorite among students. Whenever he came into the game, you heard the crowd would go crazy. So good for him. Nice guy. Also has like 85,000 followers on TikTok.
Yeah, his TikToks pop up for me sometimes. They're very fun.
Yeah, not something a lot of people know, and I kind of think he tries to keep it a little separate from the basketball. But anyway, and then Darren Buchanan.
So I have some thoughts about this.
Yeah, why don't we give us your thoughts?
Well, I think there are two big things to think about with Darren Buchanan's next step. Is that he's sort of pigeonholed himself as like a DMV guy. He's done so much work in the community.
I don't think he's pigeonholed himself.
Not pigeonholed himself. I guess that's the wrong word. But like he has made it very clear how important being close to home is. He's done a lot of community work. He's very close with his family. That's one of the things he loved about being at GW was that he could rep DC. And the unfortunate thing about that is that there are not that many schools in the immediate DC area that a player of his caliber would work at. The two that come to mind are Georgetown and UMD. I think both could make sense, especially if UMD, if Willard leaves and there's a sort of mass exodus and they need players. I think he is a great guy who they could give a bag to. And he could really get a lot of playing time and be exciting. The Jimmy Patsos connection there doesn't hurt either. I think he would definitely advocate for him there and advocate for them to allocate a significant amount of money to him there. I think Georgetown could be another good fit, especially if Sorber ends up going to the draft. They will need front court help, and I think he could be in line for real minutes there if he leaves. And then outside of that, I was thinking about what could make sense for him if he is willing to leave the DMV, which I believe he is willing to. I mean, I think his preference still would be to be close by, but I think he definitely is willing to leave for the right situation. I feel like what makes the most sense for him is sort of one of these sort of lower performing Big East schools that will suddenly have access to a lot of revenue sharing money. So some schools that immediately come to mind there are like DePaul, Butler, like Seton Hall, something like that, where I think he could definitely play and again still be in line to get some of that revenue sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Just on Butler was interested in him. I think it was basically GW and Butler were the two teams I think that were effectively his finalists 2 years ago. Butler did like an in-home visit with him, so they were very much in on him. It's largely the same staff there, I believe. I mean, I know it's the same head coach. And like you mentioned, they have kind of an influx of money comparatively to a lot of these other power schools. The whole DMV thing is like, I mean, I obviously I don't know. We're kind of hypothesizing here, but like there seems to be this assumption that he's like definitely staying in the DMV just because.
No, I'm not assuming at all. I'm just saying.
I'm not saying that you are. I'm saying that like there's a lot of other people that have been like, all right, well, and like only naming DMV schools as possibilities for him. And like I don't think he's going to go and play for the University of Washington, but like, I think he's going to go. Honestly, I think it wouldn't be the worst idea in the world for him to go and do something outside the DMV. It's only a year, 2 years. Like you take basketball away from it, there are benefits to like being kind of in your own environment where you're not 20 minutes away from, your parents' house. So he's good enough to play for a high major. That doesn't mean you should play for a high major. I'm curious to see what sort of NIL.
I'm curious to see the first list. The first list is going to be really interesting from him.
Yeah. And kind of the elephant in the room here is George Mason. Like
I was about to mention that.
ECU.
I have a take. I would love if you went to George Mason.
No, I'd hate that.
No, but like, not again. This isn't about Buchanan Jr. as a person. I want to make this very clear.
Yeah,
but I think the rivalry needs juice. I think we were getting it 3 times this year. 2 very close games, 1 not so close game. Some back and forths between the two sides.
Including Darren Buchanan for what it's worth. Like,
yes,
Darren Buchanan played a large part.
Well, to be fair, the instigator of that, Jalen Haynes, is in the transfer portal, so that is not an issue there. But there's animosity between the fan bases.
Between younger parts of the fan bases, older parts of the fan bases, I don't think are as bought into the
a younger part of one fan base and the older part of another fan base. But I think that would give juice to the rivalry. I think it would make it a lot of fun. It would be really interesting to see that. I think from like a storyline perspective, that's something. I don't want to say I'm rooting for it, but I think it would be
compelling for sure.
It would be very compelling to see that.
Yeah. One more brief thing about Darren Buchanan is I kind of think this is more about fit and role than it was about NIL, because GW could have given him a large pay raise thanks to the revenue sharing that's coming in. So I think it's more about fit and role than it is.
I think he wants to be a first option somewhere.
Yeah, which is valid.
I think he either wants to be a first option somewhere or go to a high major where he can get more money. And I think at GW he's going to get neither of those options.
I don't know. Like, do you think he'll get more money if he goes to Georgetown or UMD than he will, like, being like option 1 or option 2 at GW? Because I'm honestly not sure that he will.
Well, because he would not be option.
How much larger is UMD's
Rafael Castro is going to be option 1 at GW.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but like, I'm just not sure how much larger this year. Some of these.
I mean, I just think there was no chance he was going to come back. Like, why would his role?
Yeah, no, I'm with you, but I'm talking like in terms of NIL, like this year, until the other schools kind of realized that the A10 and Big East are like being carried a lot by revenue sharing. Like, I think there are there's plenty of power conference schools that GW will be spending more money in NIL than this year.
I agree. So that's why I specifically mentioned Big East as options for him. Yeah. Because again, as somebody who won a high major, I do not necessarily project to be a first or second option. For him to get that NIL raise that he's looking for, that's like, I think, the conference that makes the most sense for him. Unless he wants to go to like Alabama or Arkansas or something and just get a bag as like end of rotation bench guy or something. But
yeah. Who knows? Maybe he'll go to like a high-end AAC school or something like that. He'll go to like Memphis or North Texas. I don't know.
SMU.
Yeah.
They pay their guys a lot. They're not that great. Matt Cross did very well there.
No, lots of oil money. All right. Let's move on to Jacoi Hutchinson here. The way I think about him is, I think his level is the A10. Like, I kind of think he would be, I don't know. I could see downsides of him going down a level and up a level. So I'm curious to see, are we going to get another in-conference transfer? Which
I feel like he definitely could.
I'm so done. Like, I understand that, like, oh, this is the new era and whatever, but like, this will now be the third year in a row that there's, I mean, maybe we're jumping the gun a little bit here saying like, oh, what if he transfers in conference? But like, I would be concerned if there was a third in-conference transfer in a row, because like, I understand that like there's going to be a lot of roster turnover, but like, I just hate these guys going to teams that you're going to play every year. Like, that's just not.
I don't think it's that deep. I think it's really players feeling they're at the right level but wrong fit of school, and I think that's all it is. I don't think there's any like thing where it's like there's an animosity towards the previous program and it's like, I want to beat them. Like, I don't think it's that at all. I just think it's guys feeling comfortable at this level, wanting a different opportunity.
Yeah. I don't know. I get that that's like how it goes, but I still don't like it. I would much prefer like him going to the Conference USA, or like,
I feel like a great fit for him would be like a high level CAA team, like Towson, Delaware, College of Charleston. Well, he might end up back in the A10 if he doesn't. But I think like a school like that, I think he could be a great starting point guard there.
Yeah. It's kind of unclear how important being in the region is to him.
I don't think he went to IMG, so I
that's true.
Willing to leave the area, but and those are just schools I mentioned. I think he'd be at a great level there. I think those are teams that are competing for their top of their conference. College of Charleston just came into a lot of money. They have their own what's it called? They have a new collective they started at the beginning of this year. I know collectives aren't as big of a deal right now with revenue sharing, but it's clear that there's like investment into that program.
Yeah.
So,
and who wouldn't want to go live in Charleston, South Carolina? Like, if you got the opportunity to get some money,
no, we can't talk about living in Charleston too much. We're not the A10 Insider Pod, so we got to move on from this.
Okay, all right, got it. Hold on, let me read some of Jacoi's offers out of high school. So obviously a lot of these coaching staffs are different now. Bryant, George Mason, James Madison. It's probably a different staff, but that would be kind of an interesting.
Yeah, that's another great fit for him. JMU. Yeah.
LSU, Maryland, North Carolina A&T, Penn State, Pittsburgh, St. Joe's, Virginia Tech. So
I don't think it would make sense for him to go to a high major.
No, I don't think it would either.
But I think JMU is another great option I didn't mention. That could be a good fit.
Yeah, JMU could be a good one.
Can I give another name?
Go for it.
Norfolk State could be another good one. They were very good this year. People love playing for their head coach or Jones.
You just got an extension.
Yeah, could be a good fit for him. He would definitely be like their starting point guard, and he'd be a starting point guard on a good team. There.
Yeah. If he can go somewhere and kind of figure out his shooting, he can be a really good player. Yeah. Highest recruit in GW program history. I forget if I said that like a minute ago, but
you did not. But good to remember.
There you go. So yeah, we'll see where he ends up. Like you said with Buchanan, I'm curious about these. I want to see a list. So,
Liam, can I tell you what I think is the biggest takeaway from these portal entrants?
Yes.
That they have all made it clear that they are committed to competing for GW in the crowd. I think that is such a good indicator of like the health and the reputation that this program has, that these players do not appear to have any sort of real bad blood with GW or with Caputo or the staff or the teammates or anything. And that that there's like this level of like openness and comfort and trust in each other, that like they're still doing what's best for them entering the portal, which I don't think anyone doubts that this is the right move for either of these guys at this point in their college basketball careers. But like everyone's mature enough that they're able to do this, compete with their teammates, play in the crowd and all that. And I think in this era of transferring and in the AAU era where everybody knows each other and everyone's friends with each other and everyone talks, I think this is such a great sign for a healthy college basketball program that this is the way this has been handled.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not the case at some other, I mean, I haven't kind of dug deep into other Crown teams. I know that Boise State has 2 other players in the portal, but they're not really important players. It helps that there's an NIL aspect of it for sure.
That definitely helps. But either way, I think that, I mean, a shocker, this guy's in the transfer portal again, but we saw last season with Keyshawn Hall quitting on George Mason.
Yeah. If you're a program that signs Keyshawn Hall, you don't want Keyshawn Hall. Like, I'm just gonna be blunt with you. Like, you don't want him on your team.
So, but it's like, it's one of these things where it's like, this isn't the way it always goes. Like, we saw him quit on his team. We saw him have like a mysterious ankle injury, then play 4 minutes in the A10 tournament. He hucked up like 3 shots that were awful shots. Tony Skin pulled him. And then when I was the only person in that press conference, Tony Skin, or we were the only ones in that press conference, Tony Skin confirmed to me that he was healthy and this was a coaching decision to not play him. So it was clear that he had quit on the team.
Yeah.
And so this is not the way it always goes. Like, they totally could have said, I'm not playing in the crowd. I don't want to be a bench player for this team anymore. I want to just focus on my next option. And that would have been okay. Like, I don't think anyone would have batted an eye at that. But they're choosing to still rep GW, compete for GW. And I think that's a props to Caputo for making that happen.
I think one of the things is, I mean, Caputo has talked about how when they're recruiting guys, they look to recruit like good people that they know will like get along with the team, stuff like that. So I think
Mhm.
that it's sort of like you recruit these guys, and then this is even if they enter the portal, 2 years down the line, that's a result of recruiting someone who is like a decent person who was raised in the right way and all this different stuff. The other thing is, I'm just gonna be blunt. If Darren Buchanan and Jacoi Hutchinson weren't able to play against Boise State, GW would be fucked. Like it would be like they would be in deep trouble. Like
Yeah.
as much as
Well,
these are like bench players, like they play an important role for this
yeah,
team.
and
Like, they're
Buchanan
not gonna be
Jr.
able to win without
especially
them.
matches up really well with Boise State's best player.
Dagenhart,
At least like exactly Dagenhart, like size wise, at least. So I think he will be on him often because he's a pretty mobile like 4.
Yeah, he's a really good player. Diane Ness is going to go to a low major. He wants to go to a low major where he can get playing time and get paid. If that exists, good for him. I don't think it does. I think his agent is leading him poorly, giving him bad advice. So I don't know how much. We don't have to talk about that much, but that's
let's
my
talk
read
about
on
Boise
the
State.
situation.
Let's talk about the crowd.
Yeah, let's talk about Boise State. And let's see. I'm kind of curious to see how, especially June and Jacoi are managing sort of like talking with portal suitors and preparing for the crown. So I don't know exactly kind of what that looks like, but they're obviously doing.
They've had like 2 weeks to prepare for the crown. They have free time. It's not like
no,
the crown is not all encompassing.
Yeah.
I think I'm not worried about that.
Yeah. So this Boise State team is really good.
Yeah.
This might be them and VCU are probably the 2 best teams that GW will have played this year.
I think VCU.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean,
but like
VCU
there's
played what turned out to be a juggernaut BYU team. Very close.
Yeah. I'm still mad at myself for calling that right when the bracket was released and then picking VCU. So whatever.
No, I'm not mad at myself for picking VCU. Igor Demon had a crazy game. He made like 4 threes. That doesn't usually happen.
Yeah, fair enough. I think Boise State might win this game by 20 points. Like they're really good.
Can I give my take?
Give your take.
I think GW is the only team that really wants to be in the crowd. I think a lot of these other teams, maybe too late.
I don't know. I think Boise State.
I think a lot of these schools were had NCAA tournament aspirations, and I think a lot of them are going to be pretty checked out. And them, this is like a consolation. For GW, this is like the peak. So I think a lot of the GW players are going to be really excited to be in the postseason. They're too excited to be in Vegas. USC doesn't care.
USC so I think that's true for USC. I think that's true for Butler. But like a team like Boise State, they could look at it and be like, we feel like we were wronged. We feel like we deserved to be in the tournament, and we're going to go out there and we're going to win the crown. And then we're going to, prove to the whoever that like we should have been in the tournament. And there is the NIL aspect. So like I think that will.
Yeah, and that's definitely true. But
there is a chance they show up and they're just completely out to lunch.
Yeah, so I think that's a real possibility. So that's sort of, I think, the only chance GW has at making noise in this tournament, because I think they're clearly one of the weaker teams there, at least statistically and metrically. But again, I think this should be a fun matchup. I think GW actually matches up okay with Boise State. I think they have the personnel to defend Tyson Dagenhart, the senior who averaged 18 a game. Played all 4 years at Boise State, very impressively. But again, he's like a mobile, floor spacing, good rebounder.
He's really, really good.
Great shooter. So I think you'll see a lot of Buchanan on him. I think that's a tough matchup for Sean Hansen.
Yeah.
So I don't think Caputo is going to mess with the starting lineup, but I think, we've seen him sub Hansen out before the first media timeout, and I think we might see that this time. So I think we might have Hansen in to start to try and get him that lefty hook shot, get one of those quick points down low, and then yank him.
Shot.
Good. Can we see it again for Liam? There we go. So I would not be surprised to see that sort of strategy. And I think this could be a really good opportunity for Buchanan as well to show off some of his defensive chops. And
Agreed.
I think that schools, again, will be looking at the crown as an opportunity. And this is like a tryout. And even if he's not scoring, if he's able to slow down Dagenhart and keep GW in this game that way, I think that would be more valuable than any sort of scoring output he could produce.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, that's the other thing is like about the crown is like, okay, it's on a Monday evening at 5:30. Like, you know, the basketball sickos, the coaching staffs, whoever that are maybe looking for guys, like they're gonna be watching this game. They're gonna be engaged, which like that means that like even the guys who are in the portal are gonna be like they're gonna care. They're gonna try and play well so that they can, improve their, their stock or whatever. So, let's see. Going to be tough on the offensive glass for GW. Boise State has the third best defensive offensive rebounding percentage.
Yeah.
You follow me there?
Yes.
But
I mean, Castro's a good rebounder. I'm not super worried.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Is it's going to be like
strength on strength.
If he's able to get if he's able to have success on the offensive glass, then that'll be a really good sign for GW. Boise State, not a great shot blocking team,
which is good for GW, who gets their shot blocked a lot.
Yeah, God, I'm so ready for that to be over. Like, it's really frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
Boise State also not great at turning teams over. Boise State's really, really good on the offensive glass, which could be actually a disaster for GW. Boise State's really good at a bad 3-point shooting team. Sorry, they're a pretty terrible 3-point shooting team, but they're top 30 in 2-point percentage and free throw percentage.
Yeah, so I think this it would definitely be an upset if GW wins.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Ken Palmer is favored by 8.
Been doing a lot of crown talk on Breakfast Ball and on his Twitter. Has Boise State winning the whole thing? So
I can see
that's not a great sign. I don't think for a first round matchup.
Yeah. What was it? There were various experts that did like the crown bracket, and not a single one picked GW to win beat Boise State.
Yeah. So not great there. But hey, GW can shock the world. All eyes will be on the crown.
Oh, totally. All eyes will be on.
It's just like still again, like I it's serious. This is like a real postseason opportunity. But the crown in Las Vegas.
I think
in April against Boise State, like this just cracks me up. Like I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think I will. We kind of had this take when it was on, like when the brackets were first announced, and it was first announced that GW was going to be in this tournament. We were like, I think GW and GW fans are the only people taking this seriously. Everyone else is like, why are we in this tournament? This stinks. All this different stuff. No one who's not a fan of these teams is taking this even remotely seriously. They think it's a complete joke, which in fairness, it's a made for TV. Like,
I think people forgot what's happening. I really do.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, maybe best case scenario for people to pay attention to GW is something absolutely like hysterical happens. Like, I don't know, someone poops their pants. like how funny would that be? Like, I don't like.
Oh my gosh! No, do you think there'll be any like Vegas antics? Like
will there be someone being seen at the casino?
No, not even that. No, we don't need a CJ Abrams situation, but like will there be like a hot
many
tub,
of our listeners
in the
wait, say that again.
Will there be like a hot tub in the arena? Will there be like a party suite? Will there be like will there just be like some, I don't know, like some like obscene Vegas references? Like what do we think?
It's at the games until the semifinals are at the MGM Grand Arena, which I know almost nothing about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Other than like, I bet after we're recording this on Saturday morning, so I bet there's going to be some like rinky-dink boxing event there tonight, and the facilities people will be quickly turning it over into a basketball arena afterwards. Yeah. So anyway, free trip to Vegas, can't complain about that.
Yeah. Shout out Abe Rothstein and Scott Greeny, who are going for
Yeah.
WRW.
They're going to be there. Listen to their broadcast.
I will be
David,
listening. So I did not anticipate that GW would be playing basketball into April. So I'm going on a trip with my family to Costa Rica. I'm leaving on Sunday morning, and so
Yeah.
I'll be there for the week. So poor timing for basketball stuff, but I've decided that I'm going to listen to Abe and Scott at my hotel's pool, and I am anticipating to be quite drunk by the end of it. So, especially if there's a win, no promises, no guarantees. I don't know the Wi-Fi situation. I don't know what I'll be up to exactly, but you could see a drunk David poolside on the GW Basketball Insiders Crown reaction show on Monday. So that could be something for everyone to look forward to.
Yeah, so we are going to be doing a Crown reaction show. Scott and Abe are going to be on that with me and potentially David. So you said you hadn't planned for GW to be playing into April. I had to cancel my tickets to San Antonio.
Oh, see,
It was
that's
ridiculous.
Yeah, can I give a piece of lore to what I'll be wearing on Monday?
Please do.
So I will be wearing a Hawaiian shirt that I bought my freshman year of college when I was told that I would be going to the Bahamas to broadcast GW's MTE in the Bahamas my freshman year. So this would be 2019, 2020. So in November of 2019. But then because of a tropical storm in the Bahamas, the arena that they were supposed to be playing in got turned into a disaster relief area, and they were put into some like high school gym where there was no room for auxiliary media. So my credential was canceled. So no Bahamas.
So did you end up going to the Bahamas?
No, of course not.
Okay. I thought it was maybe like a situation where like you showed up to the Bahamas and they were like,
no, they called us like 2 weeks out and said that we couldn't go.
Jeez.
And so did not get to go. And the only thing I have left to remember that trip by is a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
That I bought that I was going to wear.
Well, maybe one of these years we'll do a GW, I believe, will be in the Cayman Islands next year for their. I don't know if that's a scoop or not. It hasn't been reported, but like it's
not confirmed. We've heard this.
They're playing in the Cayman Islands tournament. The one that Duquesne played in this year, which hopefully isn't on Flow Sports, but maybe we'll make a trip out of it. If I can ever get a job, then maybe I'll have some money to do that.
That'd be so fun.
That would be a vibe. So I don't know. Any more thoughts on the portal, or how about the one guy that was supposed to do a visit to GW, Yame? Is it Yame Butler? Committed to Butler, which is almost poetic, but
well, then we'll get George Washington the third. There we go.
No, we're not getting George Washington. Here's another scoop: George Washington the third not coming to GW.
We can hope. We can dream.
Yeah,
there's a world in which that still happens.
I
think I personally, I know you have your off-season doc, and I know that's a very useful tool. I personally do not care about the lists. I don't care about the lists. I only I know so many of them are fabricated and exaggerated.
Yeah.
I do not take any stock into those. So I really don't think it's worth a lot of time to speculate on the transfer portal about specific players who could be coming in at this point in the offseason.
Yeah.
I know Butler's different because he had a visit, but a visit planned, at least, that was reported. But beyond that, I really don't think it's worth anyone's time to really just hypothesize about players who've listed GW at the bottom of their lists.
Yeah. No, I'm more or less with you. There's a message board rumor that GW is going to be getting a high major power forward.
Okay.
So
yeah, there was a message board rumor 2 years ago that we were getting an SEC center, and it turned out to be Stretch. So I don't know.
I mean, he was an SEC center, so I don't know. How about this? TJ Power. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. That'd be fun. I would have TJ Power.
Yeah.
So, I'm coming back to this. If I'm right, I'm clipping this and taking credit for the scoop, despite the fact that it's not a scoop. It's just a guess.
Yeah, well, you can say it was a scoop if you're right. So
it's a scoop if I'm right, and if I'm wrong, I'm deleting this and pretending like I never said it. So,
we said we were going to do 20. We're at 35.
we did like at least 5 minutes of just like riffing about the Cayman Islands and like transfer portal lists and whatever. So that's how it goes. Enjoy the crown.
Yeah,
and yeah,
enjoy
we'll be back
postseason basketball, GW fans.
postseason basketball
This is special.
back.
This is fun.
Yeah.
Guess
So
what?
yeah,
We're
we'll be
playing
back on
later
Monday.
into the season than any other A10 school. There we go. Than any other. Yeah.
Loyola Chicago, maybe.
Oh, that's a good point. We're playing later into the season than George Mason. So there we go.
That's true. All right. We'll see you guys on Monday.